I'm going to record this separately so it saves my computer. So now we're doing the reaction.
Moment that his dream is copied by a rival restaurant franchise looking to steal away his success. The merger of the two franchises results in William meeting Henry.
God, this is still the dumbest part to me. I really don't agree with the Chica's Party World thing.
A brilliant designer with a knack for...
I mean, I can believe the mediocre melodies were like Henry's debut project and just... Oh, is MatPat too loud?
Yeah, turn it down. It's really loud. People are dying.
Okay. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's always too quiet. What the hell?
And now you're too loud. Wait, that's just me. I don't know if you're loud for chat, actually. Hold on. You're probably fine.
Okay, here. There we go.
What is this video
What?
that we're watching with chat?
This is Game Theory's new episodes. I'm sorry, chat! I'm sorry! Fredbear, I'm sorry. Surplus.
Do you want to go talk to your cheeser gang?
Robotics. Working together, they make Fredbear's flourish, spawning popular Saturday morning cartoon shows, toy lines, and spin-off restaurants under the Fazbear name. When last we left him, after...
How was that? Okay. Okay, chat. Has audio recovered? Has the sound recovered? Apologize to the cheese? I will not apologize to the cheese.
Wait, this it? Apologize to the cheese?
I will not apologize to the cheese. I will apologize to the fans, but...
You gotta apologize to the cheeser gang.
I refuse to apologize to cheese. I will apologize to the fans and people.
The world of robotics opening his eyes to new and exciting ways of bringing characters to life. Bringing things to life, yeah, that was his core driving force, his passion. And it was this very passion that would mutate, twist, and morph from here on out in the story. Because with life, there's inevitably death.
I'm gonna go back to my gang of cheesers in general chat. It's very fun rising with the cheesers.
Okay.
Yeah. The powerful cheeser gang.
Leave.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that gone? Okay. I will not apologize.
Intimately familiar with. But before Afton...
Okay, I will increase it very slightly. Fucking cheese.
Acquaints himself with death, I want you to take some time to acquaint yourself with our newest channel. Guys, this is a huge moment.
Oh, new
for
theory
us
channel
theorists. For the last decade, we've had this 4-player controller icon, and now we finally fill in the final missing piece. Get ready for the rollout of our newest theorist channel. Drumroll, please.
Style Theory? That's the one I've seen.
Style Theory. Where we're
it
looking
is!
At the science, math, psychology, history, and mystery of the way you look, your clothing, fashion trends, hygiene, and makeup. Now, I know that theorizing about style might sound weird at first, but hear me out.
Okay.
I grew up not understanding style or fashion at all. Admittedly, I was a bit of a hot mess, blissfully ignorant to the impact that style has over your life and how the world treats you. But over time,
I didn't even know that. I just guessed because a lot of people were speculating it would be that.
I was able to achieve my true self and find my own sense of personal style. And that right there, that builds confidence. The way that you look directly affects the way that you feel and the way that other people treat you. So understanding those
yeah, everyone knows I work at Game Theory. I knew the style channel. I'm psychic.
It's an educational curve. And what do we do on these channels? We like to educate you while entertaining you, which honestly is why I think this.
I was
channel
barely
is so
paying attention to that entire topic.
There are so many
like the whole
lies
what will the new
and
channel be thing. I was just like occasionally checking the server.
Out there to say, hey, this is right, this is
or
wrong,
the Reddit.
This is what science says. Also, you know, we're gonna have a lot of fun because talking about fashion is weird.
Everyone,
this channel has already given me the excuse to bludgeon a ballistic head to death using a high heel. It's also the channel where
Oh.
we're gonna physically be testing the viability of female armor, or how many t-shirts it takes to stop a bullet.
Okay,
There's
so this
also
is just gonna be
practical,
clothes
everyday stuff,
theory,
too, on this
basically,
channel.
like-
Do school uniforms actually benefit the students? Does it make a difference whether or not you wash
Okay,
your legs
everyone
in the shower?
talks shit about
That's the sort
food
of stuff that
theory.
you can find on this new channel. In fact, there are 5 new episodes that you can check out
Psychic
right
Friend
after you finish
Squawks.
this beast
Yes.
of an upload. I personally recommend
everyone,
starting with
like,
the
talked
Killer
shit about
Heel
food theory when it was
episode, because
announced,
this episode's
but-
all about the birth of a killer. And while you're over there, consider
it
subscribing.
turned out to be
It'll
one of the
do
coolest
all
channels,
of us
my
over
man.
here a huge favor, because if we manage to get 1 million subscribers by the end of the month, it'll put us as a top fashion channel here on YouTube. Show the world that looking smart can be even better
let's
than
pull up
looking
style
cool.
theory.
So go ahead, enjoy your all-day theory marathon. And now with our logo complete, it's time to complete our other massive ongoing project, this timeline. Onward to part
Okay, there we go.
2, where things are about to get dark in a hurry.
I do like the FNAF 3 sound effect here. Let's get to the actual
1983,
video.
Business was booming with 2 whole restaurant franchises running.
What?
Fredbear's
The token is the least of things to pick for this.
Family Diner and the newly opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Together, William and Henry had been able to take the
We're still
hybrid
using this to represent Henry.
suit idea and make it into a reality. They called their new invention the Springlock suit, and fittingly enough, it was symbolic of the partnership between these two men. A human suit as designed by William that could become a freestanding Henry-style robot. But because it was still new tech with kinks to work out, the rollout was limited, restricted only to the Fredbear's Family Diner location. All of this meant that William was busier than ever. He didn't have time to be a full-time parent, so he designed a nanny cam system where cameras and speakers were hidden throughout the neighborhood, as well as in his youngest son's favorite toy, Psychic Friend Fredbear. I
Best
mean,
one.
plushy Fredbear. But since cameras just weren't enough to raise a kid, he also left childcare duties to his eldest son, Michael.
I agree
There was
with
just
that.
one problem with that. Michael was far from the best babysitter. He tormented his younger brother by jump-scaring him with a foxy mask and constantly left him behind. William watched all of it from his cameras. Kids would be kids. Tomorrow was another day, after all. Except Michael's torment didn't stop. Bitter, angry thoughts
Wait,
would run
is he going to place the Cryo Child first? Please, please, Matt Pat, don't pull this
through
shit on
Michael's
me.
mind. Why did he have to be the one to take care of this whining crybaby all the
Please.
time? It just wasn't fair. It was time that he got even with his brother by playing the ultimate prank. A prank that just so happened to be on
Yes!
his dying child's birthday. He and his friends would take his scared little brother and make him do the one thing that he was terrified of doing, getting close to the animatronics. That would be embarrassing for the kid that was such an
Please.
embarrassment.
Please,
to him.
Matthew
His brother
Patthew.
squirmed, screamed, kicked, and fought, but just as they were putting that small, squirming boy up to Fredbear's lips, the mouth snapped shut. The sensitive spring
Fuck
locks
yes.
inside the body had been triggered by the boy's movements, and they'd immediately clamped down. The wriggling stopped. The boy went limp, but it was just a
I
prank.
will have to fix that video.
The boy was taken to the hospital and was immediately given an IV. Flowers and pills filled the nightstand next to his hospital bed, but the damage was too severe. He couldn't recover. As the younger brother's consciousness began to fade, he could hear Michael's last words, a small and flimsy apology. But his father, Williams, through the voice of the Fredbear plush, were a firm and committed promise to a dying son. You're broken. I will put you back together. This would not be the end. No matter what, Williams' son
All right, I'm going to... I won't do it now, but I'll have to make a new thumbnail. You know what? Fuck it. I'll do it on stream after this video. I will have to fucking adjust this video. I'm just going to make it something like, thank God I was wrong.
would live again. It would just take time. Time that, right now, he just didn't have.
No, it's not enough to put outdated. I'm going to redo that thumbnail and title to be just, thank God I was wrong about part 2.
His young son's heart flatlined as the boy faded into the inky unknown of the afterlife. In the aftermath of the tragedy, changes started happening around the restaurants. Kids were now required to wear security wristbands to prevent anyone from getting outside without parental permission. Any kid who approached the exit without permission would have to answer to the security puppet, a marionette on strings that could fly around on rails across the restaurant to stop kids in their tracks. It was William's idea, inspired by Michael constantly leaving the restaurant without his brother. In the wake of Fredbear's Springlock failure, all the hybrid suits were getting retired, locked away at the nearby Freddy Fazbear location. It was yet another tough pill to swallow after all the hard work that he and Henry had put into them. William
Okay.
would eventually bury the
I don't
boy's
mind that.
small body in a remote location out in the woods right alongside
Hey,
his drive
that's my
into and
interpretation
out
of
of work
things.
every day. The death of this little boy sent the
Wait,
family
are we getting Michael Motorist?
spiraling. His wife, crippled with grief, was so distraught that all she could do was sit and watch TV. But his
Are
son
you fucking-
Michael was far worse, complaining of seeing hallucinations of a golden bear standing outside of his window. The boy was so racked with guilt.
Are you fucking kidding me? This is Michael Motorist. This is Michael Motorist.
That he was convinced that he was being haunted by the ghost of his brother stuck inside the suit that took his life. The suit's three-toed feet digging into the wet earth. The words, "It's me," ringing through Michael's ears. Some nights, Michael would even go so far as to break out of his room to check the gravesite and ensure that his brother was still there. As for William himself, he disappeared into his work and his drinks. Junior's, the local bar, wasn't far from his son's gravesite. He found himself going there more and more frequently, spending longer and longer.
This is literally my interpretation of shit. Or Rightos, which is
to remember, to reflect and stew on how Henry had stolen his idea for an animal-themed restaurant. How they'd cut his character out of the cartoon when everyone else was there. How Henry had humiliated him by buying him out of bankruptcy. And now there was his son. Henry had taken his son from him. The robotic part was the part that failed after all. William ordered one more drink, but it was one too many. The bar turned him out and told him to go home. But William didn't go home. Drunk and angry, William raced back to the restaurant to give Henry a piece of his mind, only to find someone else waiting. Henry's daughter, Charlie, locked outside of the building, bullies laughing at her through the window. Fine, some other problem to fix. But then Afton got an idea. A beautifully awful idea. This was his chance to get back at the man that had humiliated him all those years ago. Henry had killed his business, and now Henry's robotic suit had killed his son. It was time for William to do some killing of his own. Let Henry feel what it's like to have something you love get ripped away. While parties continued inside the walls of the pizzeria, William attacked Charlie in the back alley. It felt good. He felt free. The years of resentment and bitterness trapped in his heart finally released in a moment of pure unapologetic evil. He would make Henry hurt like he hurts.
Non-British laughter.
Moment, William became a killer. He dropped Charlie's lifeless body and drove home, forced to confront his family problems later that night, appalled, but also a little excited by what he had just done. Charlie's death would remain on the books as a random act of violence. And though Henry had suspicions about William, there was no physical evidence. Nothing that...
We are in my killing order. Now, Elizabeth can be third for all I care. As long as Michael Motorist is accepted as a canon thing in the theaters community,
could link him back
I
to
don't
the crime.
fucking mind.
In the weeks that followed, Fredbear's Family Diner would close for good. 2 high-profile deaths around the restaurant with 2 grieving owners in such a short period of time was just too much bad press to handle.
That was really good voice
Freddy
acting on Matt Pat's
Fazbear's
part,
was
by the
still
way.
open, and it was the newer restaurant anyway. All the equipment from the diner, including the old yellow suits and security puppet, would get retired to that location. And there they would sit for 2 uneventful years. The rest of 1983 and 1984 were spent quietly grieving. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the new cast of characters were a hit. Tragic memories of their yellow predecessor.
Not really. I've gone back and forth on that one a lot, to be honest. So I'm yet to find definitive... Shut up, dogs. I'm yet to find any definitive claim on the man-sitting sprite name. I've seen people be like, actually, no, that's not how sprites are labeled. That's not how they're named. I don't know.
Predecessors quickly faded. Afton kept a low profile and buried himself in work and research, quickly reaching Henry's level of engineering and even surpassing him. And while Henry slowed down to grieve, Afton kept going, even starting his own company, Afton Robotics, for all those pet projects that were a little bit too experimental for the regular operations of the pizzeria. The first of these experimental projects was a secret workshop under his house, a veritable bunker, which allowed him to work while still monitoring his kids via hidden security cameras. 1983. A passcode that served as a constant reminder of why the cameras were so important, why he was down there in the first place. This was all to fulfill the promise that he had made to his son, right? I will put you back together. This was for him. All for him. Right? But cameras weren't enough. He needed to solve the runaway Michael problem. He had to keep him in the house. He couldn't have another one of his kids wind up dead inside of an animatronic suit. So why not run a little experiment on Michael? You see, all this work with Henry had gotten Afton to start learning more about life, robots, the human mind, and what a fallible machine we as humans were. Our reality is so easy to manipulate.
It's starting to go in a
with
weird
sensory
direction.
Deceptions like sound. With just a few sounds, he had discovered that he could alter a person's vision. He could transform blank, smooth plastic robots into lumbering, twisted nightmares. Nightmares far scarier than he could create with actual materials. They would appear organic, rotting, putrid, terrifying. These would be his means of keeping his son Michael in the house where he belonged. Was it extreme? Maybe. But then again, this was the boy who had killed his son. He would make him sorry. And so Michael would grow up not only dealing with the memories of his own guilt, the hospital room, the pills, the flowers, the death of his brother, but also facing literal nightmares, illusions created by
flabbergasted that this is like everything I've been saying for the past couple months.
Sound. Michael would never forget these either. Years later, as a security guard, he would still draw pictures of them inside of his logbook. But all of these extra projects meant that his home life suffered even more. He was an absent father and a non-existent husband, leaving his wife cold and alone.
Why do you hide inside your walls when there is
we haven't done the nightmare characters yet. Or we haven't done Sister Location yet, which is the one I'm curious about where he's going to place.
No more joy, an empty tomb.
And despite her repeated demands that he leave his office,
why would you build a building with no doors unless... Sorry, I need to shout at my dogs. Hold on, this is really bugging me. Sasha! Sasha! Okay, so here's my theory for what happened here. I think he watched Rye Toast's video. And Rye Toast's video, and I know Rye Toast had seen my video before that video went out. So indirectly, I think...
and engage with the family, he refused...
What the fuck? Okay, sorry.
Time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to...
With the family, he refused time and time again, leaving her no choice but to leave.
You burned down my house?
You call that a house? It was like a morgue in there. You need to see your son.
The baby isn't mine.
Well, how's this? I'm keeping the diamond ring.
And through it all, there was one lingering feeling. William wasn't done. He had gotten a taste of what it felt like to be unleashed, what it felt like to be free. Charlie's murder had unlocked something in him, and he wanted more. June 26th, 1985.
We are following the Raito/my interpretation.
Putting on the golden Bonnie suit, he lured children one by one to the back room of the pizzeria when no one was looking.
This is already better than ever. Not just because it's my interpretation, but this is just fucking better than like every other theory video has been.
Cookies. He told them that their dog had died. He would ask for help with homework. Susie was the first. You never truly forget your first.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
But where to hide the bodies? He couldn't sneak out. Someone would see him. He had to hide them in a place where they'd never be found and where they'd never leave the building. They had to be stuffed. Stuffed inside.
That's debated, but yeah, sure.
No one maintained those things anyway, except for him. And so Susie would go into Chica. Fritz, Jeremy, and Gabriel would come next, but it was easy. It was too easy. And with each little life he snuffed out, his lies got bigger. Their house was burning. They're just being kidnapped. Until the last one where all pretense was off. He let himself get violent. Too violent.
I'll just wait for him after school, throw a bag over his head, hit him with a shovel, and drag him into the back of my car.
The body of Cassidy was far more bloody and broken than any of the others. He let himself go too far. That one he shouldn't have killed. With no more active animatronics left, he shoved the body into the one suit that remained backstage. The long-forgotten yellow Fredbear, now broken and discolored with age. Broken, like Cassidy was broken, like his son was broken. Newspapers reported on this disappearance, naming the whole...
My only thing that I would like to point out, this has always been my interpretation of why Cassie seems to be just so much more aggressive than every other spirit, is I wonder if it's them being trapped in a just extremely inferior suit. Like, Fredbear can't fucking move. It's stuck in suit mode. It's just deactivated in the back. So I wonder if that helplessness kind of what fueled them. Because we know at this point that even if agony isn't literally in the games, that concept of torment creating stronger spirits seems to be a running thing. Like, it seems like the more brutal your death is, the more powerful you seem to be.
whole thing the missing children's incident. Police would even charge William with the crimes after finding security footage of the golden mascot suit luring kids to the back, but they couldn't convict him. They had no bodies, and his face had been hidden behind the mascot suit the entire time. What they had was circumstantial at best, and so he walked away a free man. But Henry knew the truth. In these murders, he saw his daughter Charlie all over again. So he threw Afton out of the company and shuttered the doors to the old pizzeria. Henry would keep the franchise quiet for
I don't necessarily agree or disagree with that. That's sure.
This would not happen again. This could not happen again.
All right, so I was talking to my cheese general. And some other lads, right? And everybody is very prominent in the server right now that they want a modding team as we hit like our hundreds. They want at least one mod per like 100 to 150 people.
Wait, how many people do we have in the server?
Let's see. There's 11 in the FNAF fan, 14 online, and then 17 offline, and us. So
okay.
Let me look at the, what is it? I know there's a way to check how many people are in the server real quick, but I don't know off the top of my head. But people are very, very like, we need mods if this is gonna work, and I'm like, that's fair.
We will work on that. I'm not sure we'll do it this.
You're gonna have to find somebody basically. So there's 44 people in the server already. There's already 44 members. People just relaxing, chillaxing, hanging out, all cool and stuff. We have my gang of fun-loving degenerates, the Cheesers, who are just chilling in general. People that have Basil and Kron, or I think they go by Wafflos in chat, but Basil and Kron really, really want to be mods. I'm not sure if they're here to destroy or not.
Okay. I have a compromise.
Yeah.
We'll have a deputy system.
We'll have a deputy system?
So my most trusted moderators will be like close friends, people I have personally like vetted and checked out.
Yeah.
But then we'll have the deputy system, which is weaker mods. They can't like alter shit per se, but they'll have like they'll basically just be mod light. Diet mod.
So you mean my cheese gang of deputies will roll around through the Wild West wrangling cow people?
Sure. Interpret that as you see.
How's the video review going? The rise of Afton?
It's my theory.
What?
It's literally my theory.
Really?
Like almost beat for beat, motive for motive, like order for order of Dead Kid. There are embellishments. There are things I did not talk about because that was not the scale of my prior theory. But like we have hit every check mark of like how I discuss things.
That's pretty neat. I can't wait to set up my posse. I don't know if they're watching, but Cheese Gang may rise and be the moderating crew of this server. The thing you very solemnly swore to destroy will become the thing that runs your server.
You can name it the Cheese Deputies if you want.
Oh, you know I am. I love this.
It's weird. This entire video is almost my complete opposite reaction to part one. Part one of the timeline that he did. Fascinating. Anyway, I guess the cheese deputy will now be a thing.
Protect the kids. Finally, he developed a solution. He would
cheese gang of deputies.
Okay then.
I can't wait for me to just. Hold on.
Go deal with your cheese, Zach. I'm gonna try and finish this video.
No. I'm just gonna stay in here for a bit. Just chill. Continue your video.
Extreme security system in the form of new animatronics. Toy animatronics. Inspired by the toy.
Zach.
Yes.
I keep trying to watch this video and you start talking as soon as I start pressing play.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'll go. Bye bye. Love you.
Sorry.
Bye.
that they had been selling years ago. But these guys, these were special. They were a new breed of robot with facial recognition abilities.
But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database, so they can detect a predator a mile away.
All the original animatronics, now withered with age, were moved to the new location. With a plan in place, it was time to try once more. The year was 1987, and the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was making headlines in local newspapers. Headlines that just so happened to catch the attention of William Afton. Freddy's was back, and without him, that was his idea, his character. Henry was, yet again, trying to cut him out of the picture. No. As long as these restaurants stayed open, William would always come back. Then he noticed the phone number to apply at the bottom of the article. $100 a week to apply, call. Afton would go back, not as an owner or co-founder. He would go back in the one place that they would least suspect him, a lowly day shift security guard.
I'd agree with that. That's
buried in the back of parts and services, mixed in with the old withered animatronics, was the golden rabbit. With the yellow security badge still on his chest, he used his crank to pull.
Not by this theory, Darris Devil. By this theory, he is a co-founder of the franchise, but he did not. Yeah. The whole like Henry would have retired if he was the original owner, I don't think applies to this theory, to be honest.
Pull open the spring locks.
Oh no, we've known for a fact that William was a security guard at some point.
For Bonnie to give an encore performance.
Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the
Yeah,
back.
this has been known for a bit.
Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees.
Why is that one filter different?
We may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
1987, 5 more kids. He didn't know what felt better, getting back into the suit after 2 long years of waiting, or knowing how devastating this would be to Henry the next morning. He didn't even try to hide his crime this time, just meant more blood on Henry's hands. He'd failed to protect the kids.
That is something I guess was always in the back of my head, but I never really thought about is that might be why they're all just fucking scattered around the building. If he's a security guard now, it doesn't give a shit. That's why he's not even trying to hide
the
them.
restaurant had only been open for a few weeks, but William was sure that this would get it to close. Good. If he couldn't have Freddy's, no one would. Whenever a new pizzeria opened, he would be there. But as he sat in his bunker, something else started to linger in William's mind. He had seen something strange. The old withered animatronics, they had been wandering around the building, spurred on by the puppet. It was almost like those old robots were trying to save the kids. Save them? They couldn't, obviously, but still, how were they moving? It was almost like they had been given life somehow. Did he have something to do with that? The following day, the news would report a security guard getting bit.
He is keeping that ambiguous, which I totally understand, actually. I feel like that's one of those claims you just don't have to explain or be very confusing to explain.
Bitten by one of the animatronics during the day shift. Was that bite meant for him? William's curiosity was stronger now than his bloodlust. He had to learn more, but how? There was no way he'd ever be able to get inside another Freddy's Pizzeria. Heck, there was practically no way a Freddy's would ever open again. He needed to create.
I just think these... So here's the thing. It literally doesn't matter whether these kids possess the toys or not, because the toys get scrapped anyway. And whatever remains of those scraps gets burned in the FNAF 3 fire anyway. So it does not fucking matter who the toys are. That is my consensus. The toys are going to be destroyed anyway.
Something new, something brand new. He needed to create his own pizzeria.
Due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in
hold the fuck.
Entertainment.
Circus Baby's Pizza World.
Hold the fuck. This is my timeline order.
This would be the place.
This is my order of events too.
Where he could continue.
This is my order of FNAF 2 precedes Sister Location. That's how I ordered
his work. No longer just murdering, experimenting. He needed
more
kids, and he needed them alive. And knowing that he couldn't show his face on the restaurant floor, he needed a way of remotely capturing his victims and preserving them
That's
for his
interesting.
work. With that,
I guess Ritos also came to that conclusion loosely, so I don't know who this is coming
Their
from.
endoskeletons fluid and flexible.
I don't want to say this comes from me because that feels arrogant as shit, but this is consistently hitting every mark I've talked about.
Sound lures that could mimic voices. They could isolate children. They could incapacitate and contain them with zero direct input from him. It was brilliant. He was brilliant. Far beyond the simple bars and wires of Henry's design.
I don't think he stole it. I genuinely think he he used Raito's timeline as a reference, but that timeline has a lot in common with mine.
Were uniquely his. His new
That's
roster wasn't
fascinating.
going to be tainted by Henry's disgusting barnyard bird. Instead, it was back to his characters, his creations, Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, as well as 2 special ones. The first, Ballora, was an homage to the woman who left him. Now she would never leave him again. The second, the titular baby, was designed with his
I don't
baby
really
in
agree
mind.
with that, but
Elizabeth, his youngest child. She would always be Daddy's little girl, the one that listened to him, the one that obeyed until the day.
Oh, that's going to be foreshadowing for when he's trying to argue someone. Okay, that's going to be a security reach foreshadow.
That she didn't.
Daddy, why won't you let me play with her? She's so pretty and shiny. Didn't you make her just for me?
I do want to compare this with the Raito store.
The day before Circus Baby's Pizza World opened, she disobeyed. She didn't listen. Left alone with Baby, she got too close. The animatronic ripped in half and swallowed her whole. A scared and confused child fading into eternal darkness. By the time Afton found her, it was too late. She was gone. He immediately canceled the launch of Circus Babies under the guise
Funtime
of the
Chica
gas
does
scene.
kind of poke the hole in
As
this,
he
but
sat
it's
there
fine.
At the foot of the stage, he noticed
It's
that
inoffensive,
something
I
was
guess.
different. The eye color of the robot had changed. Baby had been built
That
with
isn't.
blue eyes,
That
but
has always been interesting. It does seem like possession can physically alter things to some extent.
now they were emerald green, the same color as Elizabeth's. Was she in there? Could this all be connected to the free-moving animatronics that he had seen?
Here's the thing is, I just... At this point, a lot of the personal Afton story arc shit, I don't mind that much. Like, it's not terrible. I like I said, when that first timeline came out, I think it's a really cool story. I just... not sure what's correct.
At Freddy's. He had to know more. His mourning turned to excitement. He had to
Bonnie ITA, that does seem like the timeline is going with.
Turn
the
to where
FNAF 4, FNAF 2, sister location, minigame, FNAF 1, sister location, FNAF 3, FNAF 6, UCN, FNAF VR, security reach.
it all started. 1993. Pathetic. This place was pathetic. Henry had clearly tried to reopen one final time with those old original animatronics from so long ago, but Williams' damage to the brand had been permanent. These things stank of death. They hadn't been washed in decades. But even if they had, nothing could wash away the stink of murder that haunted these halls. One night, then another.
It's interesting that he said decades plural, but in this timeline it would only be one.
Then another. William
That's probably just a
repeatedly
script
snuck into
mistake.
the old broken restaurant to lure the living animatronics to him, one by one dismantling them, robbing them of their endoskeletons. The metal had to be the secret. It had to contain the remnants
Oh, we're doing Molten MCI. Okay.
of life itself. But he had to know for sure. Leaping out of a room that was invisible to the animatronics programming, he dragged the oversized robotic skeletons back to his underground workshop.
This is the first miss in this theory to me, because everything else has been pretty negligible. Like, it might be slightly off. I think this is a really good video so far. I don't agree with Molten
To where
MCI.
Circus Baby watched on with glowing, curious eyes. Eyes that somehow felt alive. Not knowing what else to do, William melted the robotic parts down. 5 animatronic endoskeletons reduced down to one silvery puddle of goo. Could he transfer this living metal to his own creations? He had to try. He picked up a syringe and filled it with the molten metal and injected the goo into Funtime Freddy's twisted, wiry endoskeleton. And suddenly, the coils came to life. Like snakes writhing in a pile, what had once been cold, lifeless metal moved and jolted on its own. He'd done it! He had unlocked the secret to life itself. Except something was clearly wrong. The movements were erratic. They were violent, angry. Baby didn't act this way. She had been calm, collected. This was clearly something.
The theory's fine. I think it's really good. So I stand by the Funtimes just have their own victims, because there's no good explanation for why the fuck they have murder victims. There's no good explanation for why they have murder devices. Like, what the fuck is the point of the storage storage cat, like in Funtime Freddy? What the fuck is the point of the scent release and apparent playback from Funtime Foxy? All of that becomes pointless if they're injected with Remnant. To me, that's why I've never agreed with that. This is not talking about Yendo, that they're just using Yendo as a visual.
else, something mindless and frantic. Perhaps by mixing the souls and then portioning them out, he had created incomplete beasts. He would need to keep testing to truly understand it. He needed more of this remnant. As he searched the old pizzeria one more time for any remaining scraps of metal, the ghosts attacked. His past victims...
I mean... This is the only version of Molten MCI that does work. I just don't agree with it.
...to collect their due, all led by Cassidy. The 5 lined up and blocked the door.
Yeah, if you're going to do this, this is the best way to do it. I just don't agree.
The implications of this were incredible. Ghosts, real
just jumped up to 45.
You could see all standing against him. But what could they do? What couldn't they do? He panicked as Cassidy approached. How do you stop something that's already dead? Maybe with the thing that resulted in their death in the first place. He would get into his suit like old times. He would regain his power over them just like the...
Okay, now we know he didn't watch my shit. Now we know. This confirmed that. So, yeah, that's the other thing is, the way this theory presents things, it's not quite clear how the hell the souls can still attack if they're stuck in the fun times. I guess the idea I've seen is apparently that there still is enough of the remnant trapped in the physical animatronics left behind to manifest the souls, which I don't... That's kind of dumb to me, but sure. It does work. That's not completely out of the question in FNAF lore. Molten... To be honest, I do think there is some truth to the idea of Molten MCI. We haven't gotten to the elaboration section. He elaborates at the end of these timeline videos. This is the first thing that proves me he hasn't watched my shit. Or at least whoever brought this up didn't watch my stuff. Misconceptions Volume 1, like the thing I start with, is my take on Springtrap's death. So, my take on it is that in FNAF 2, the way you get rid of Golden Freddy, and keep in mind, William's been to FNAF 2, the way you get rid of Golden Freddy is by putting on a mask. So by putting on Springtrap, you would apply the same logic, be immune to it. Yeah, Toy MCI is personally the take I've always preferred of them. If you're going to do the Molten characters. Yeah. This is the first one I'm like, that's not something I've said. So
the day that they died, he was the genius. He was the one in the suit. He was the one in charge. The spring lock.
I mean, this works. I just don't agree with it.
Maybe it was his frantic movements. Maybe it was the leaky abandoned restaurant. Maybe it was just fate coming.
Yeah, 50 people on stream. This is pretty big.
No. The only thing he did know was that his brain was suddenly filled with searing white-hot pain as hundreds of metallic pins and gears stabbed into his body from all sides. All he could do was collapse, blood slowly oozing out of the suit and pooling onto the floor around him. It couldn't end like this. It wouldn't end like this. His work was unfinished. Unable to move, his only option was to survive, to live, to keep living. It took days lying in his own blood, but eventually someone found him, a security guard making a normal report. When he saw the animatronics torn apart in the middle of the party room floor, it caused him to file an immediate report of a break-in. An owner would have to come in and claim the damage, and who else would it be other than Henry? Hope jumped in Afton's heart. Henry would see him. They were partners after all. He would be the one to help save him, to get him out of this suit, to relieve him from this tremendous pain. Henry entered the secret room. His eyes fell on Afton sitting there in the pool of red, and Henry, saying nothing, turned and walked away.
This is just to inform all employees due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Management also requests that this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives.
And so there Afton would sit, hanging on for 30 years, trapped behind the walls with an iron will that refused.
I mean, okay. I see what this is going for. That's still fucking weird.
Used to die.
I don't
of this part.
It's weird. That's not even. I don't even disagree with that. That's just fucking weird. Like, yeah. I guess I don't know what else you're going to do about it. I guess that's the only way you're going to work with it for them being sealed after. He's not saying that Henry saved William. He's saying that he sealed him. He's not saying that.
I say this part because it's not officially the end of the Afton era just yet, but this just felt like a really solid stopping point, and the episode has gone on forever. Okay, so most of this is things that we already knew, stuff that's been established and reestablished time and time again by the games. That's
yeah, if there's going to be a what are we on about, it's probably that or like the molten chunk.
Things that I absolutely have to address. The first and biggest is the placement of sister location, or more specifically, Elizabeth's death. To me, evidence in game seems to suggest that it was meant to come before the crying child's death in 1983. The biggest clue to this is that the crying child saw something. Remember what you saw is the phrase that's repeated over and over again by psychic friend Fredbear, aka William Afton speaking through a walkie-talkie in the Fredbear plushie's stomach. But what did he see? Well, I think we can tell based on how the nightmare animatronics are visualized. They have mouths in their stomachs, just like
only one of them though. Sorry, this is what he I'll wait for him to finish.
Ways to swallow a kid. There's also the empty girl's room, one presumably left behind by a dead sister. And lastly, it explains why he's scared, and more specifically, why Afton wants him scared. He needs his kids to stay away from the animatronics. He doesn't want them getting too close, because the last time one of his kids got too close to a robot, his daughter died. That's then why he sets up the nightmares, to scare both Mike and the crying child away from the animatronics from that point forward. That's why books like the Character Encyclopedia outright suggest that we play as the crying child in FNAF 4. That's why he has a nanny cam following the crying child everywhere, so he can keep tabs on his kids when they're out of his sight. He can't let another Elizabeth situation happen. The death of Elizabeth also gives William Afton extra motivation for killing. He's a grieving father. His daughter was taken away from him, so Charlie should die as well. He's lashing out at the world after losing his kids. And again, we know that at least one of his children had to have died prior to Charlie's death, based on the mound of dirt that we see in Midnight Motorist. It also allows circus babies to open and close earlier in the timeline, which is how you wind up with Funtime Foxy appearing as Mangle in the FNAF 2 location. Basically, Elizabeth dying first has everything it needs to fit, except for the most important thing, the murder weapon. Why would Afton be building an animatronic with a giant claw in its stomach so early in the timeline? At this point, he just has no motive. It just doesn't make sense prior to 1983. At this point in the story, he hasn't killed anyone, and we know for a fact that the missing children's incident is 1985. So Elizabeth's death coming before any of those events just doesn't work, hence why I placed it where I did in the narrative timeline. Afton's death here is also a bit tricky. We know that he returned to the FNAF 1 location to break down the original animatronics in order to harvest their remnant. We know that he melts down 5 things to become one thing. Candy Cadet makes that very clear. So the 5 things are the 5 endoskeletons from the various animatronics. That would be totally fine if it weren't for one huge problem. On his 5th visit to the pizzeria, Afton gets spring locked. So either the 5 becoming 1 starts in 1993, but then finishes 30 years later when he reemerges from the wall to add the last endoskeleton to his pile, or he's had himself some reason to return to the original location after harvesting all the stuff that he can. It's not ideal, but it's the one angle that makes the most sense. And with that, this next chapter comes to a close, thereby leaving us with 5 more games to cover and another 40 plus years of Fazbear history to recap.
To me, that felt like a waste of time, honestly. Why the fuck talk about that at all? Just say Elizabeth dies later. Like, I don't even, that's like the part to be honest, explaining Molten MCI is way more important. Here's the thing. I agree with like 99% of the video. This entire Elizabeth wreck could be cut. Okay. That's a really weird chunk.
When you put it that way, something tells me that this might balloon into 4 parts. Ugh, we'll see. Anyway, until then, my Faz heads, congratulations, you've made it through a massive upload. And hey, if you are still looking for more to watch, then check out the other 5 brand new awesome theories over on our new sister location, Style Theory. This thing literally launched today, so this is your chance to be one of the first people to ever subscribe to this brand new theory channel. Get yourself the bragging rights of being there on day 1 and subscribing. I recommend checking out the video on Killer Heels. I think that one's the best starting spot, and then you just explore the channel from there. And again, if you like what you see, give it a subscribe. It has been a super fun journey so far, and we have ourselves some banger episodes coming up over the next couple weeks. Can you be allergic to color like we see on the show Wednesday? How many t-shirts does it take to stop a bullet? Basically things that you're going to want to be there for. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your subscription. Link is on screen right now. Go over there, check out the channel, give us your watch time, help tell YouTube that this is a channel style that is worthwhile and worth sharing across the platform. I have no doubt if you keep an open mind, you're gonna love what you see. And as always, my friends, remember, it's all just a theory. A game theory! Give me a week.
This is still weird. Yeah, I think you could cut part 1 of this entire series already. Alright. Oh, let me...